Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Hello, welcome to today's session.
Thank you.
If you wish to test your
Thank you.
microphones or screen sharing or any of the technical aspects, then now is the time to do so.
I presume you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Mhm.
Great. And we'll be able to share our screens. Should we test that?
Yes, you can test that. You should be able to do that, yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Yes, I can see your slides.
great. We're all tested.
Okay, let me do this.
Can
That's all
I?
right. Yeah, you can hear me, you can see me, and can you see mine as well?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay, great. Now how do I stop? Stop. Okay.
I'm also trying to share my screen. Can you see it and can you see me?
Yes, it's working well. Mhm.
Thank you.
Irene, where is your Institute on Organic Agriculture based?
I'm based in Switzerland, but we have like 6 offices. Yeah, in Switzerland, Germany, Europe, Hungary, Austria, France, and
Okay.
also for Eastern Europe, yes.
Okay, all right. Nothing in Africa yet.
We had a small office in West Africa, but it's currently we have somebody stationed in East Africa. But
Okay.
it's
Where in East Africa?
in Nairobi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Well, that's where I am as well.
Close to the SIP. Yeah.
Good. Good.
Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you? Hi, Professor Lowe. Good afternoon. Tayab.
You're the mysterious Juliana. Very good. Boa tarde.
I wanted to continue being mysterious, but it's not.
Why do we continue being mysterious? Why? Why?
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well this afternoon. It's a little chilly here. We're getting into dry season, so,
Okay,
but otherwise it's good.
good. Nice to see you. Good
Hi,
afternoon.
hello, good
everybody.
afternoon.
Hello, Jose. How are you?
Where are you
Hello.
based, where it's chilly?
Oh, in Nairobi. It's all relative.
Sorry,
For
where are
us,
you
it's
based? where it's
chilly.
chilly?
June,
Okay.
July are our cold months because, you know, Nairobi's at 1,800 meters. You know, so, you know, we can get down to 11 degrees centigrade, you know.
Yes, not easy sometimes. And also
Today here,
you're not prepared enough for that also. Yeah, sorry?
no, here in Seville, this in southern Spain, this week it's a little bit strange because it's not hot. It's around 25, so
Yeah,
it's very
that's
nice
nice
and it's very
temperature.
strange. It's very strange in June.
Yeah, that's
And some
our
rain.
normal. That's our normal temperature in Nairobi. We always have a pretty good climate here. Can't complain. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
much harder in Sudan as well, correct? Yeah? Are you in northern Sudan or southern Sudan? Oh, he's on mute. Okay.
El Tayeb, can you hear?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
I think my colleague, Dr. Atayib, he didn't hear your question. We are from the north of Sudan.
Ah, you're from the north of Sudan. Okay, very good.
Okay, thanks.
Very good.
So yes, basically we are co-sharing the meeting also with Jose Manuel from LifeWatch ERIC, and I will kindly remind you to really keep on the timing because we only have time for 8 minutes presentation. It's not even having time for, it doesn't allow for question and answer. So we really need to skip to the timing. And
Okay.
I will be asking you at the end of each presentation, what is the added value of your organization to the project building consortium that we are trying to do for this specific goal. So just for you to keep that in mind and briefly say whatever is more important for you.
Sure.
On this. We will have plenty of time later on to rediscuss and meet more profoundly and more among us, but yeah, it's just a first meeting and just to see how is the reaction of all the participants and other member states. So that's the main thing here.
And this farm to fork document that Jose, you were kind enough to distribute, is that looking at what's the duration of this effort that you're looking at? Is it 3 years, 4 years?
We are thinking. Well, this is a project that if we are able to win this project, it will start mid or end 2022, and it's for I think 4 years. This project is more or less for a 4 years approach.
4 years. Okay.
Or this is at the beginning what we have in mind. 3
Yes.
years, 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
The idea is to present each other, to know more about what we did and what we can contribute to this proposal. And then with this effort, we will do a report and we will set up more meetings later on among us to have a deeper discussion about many different topics that or decision that we should have, that we should make for the proposal preparation.
Well, I imagine webinar like so that this probably will raise additional questions and opportunities as well, which is what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Professor Osman, how are you? I'm happy.
Fine, thank you.
I'm happy you have been able to do it because I know it's weekend, so we appreciate very much your presence here also from Dr.
Yes.
Tayeb and the other colleagues of the team. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. We really wanted also to participate in the session of biodiversity, but it was very difficult.
I'm sorry because it was also
Yes.
myself doing the confusion. I was talking to you on the research topics for biodiversity and then agroecology. So I thought it was clear it was the two of them, but it's okay. We will. We had a good discussion, but one of the conclusions was to make an internal platform like an intranet for exchange and to start discussion on that. So we will add you to there, and that will be the easiest way to follow up. No,
This is
no
fantastic,
problem.
really. We will look forward to it. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Jose Manuel, I just want to confirm, I'm to present very briefly already and what's the okay. Yeah, I just want to just make sure because, okay.
Yeah, and in fact, you will talk before me. So for me, it's a really nice presentation. No, then I will focus on the virtual research environment. And so if you can step what we are doing in already in Europe, because what we want it's also to see to look at Africa with this approach, of participation and co-creation and to identify the better practices. So it's a great scenario.
Okay, well, in 8 minutes, it'll be fast, but I can stay till a little before 3. So I'll stick with you for the first hour.
Thank you.
Sorry, Juliana?
Yes.
I just have a question for the projects we are going to present now. My colleagues, they are going to present it. Like I just want to know the way forward. Are you going, for example, to help the countries to get together?
For this session, you mean?
For the projects, yeah, research projects.
Yes, that's the intention of this session, is to prepare a research project proposal for a call of the Horizon Europe that was launched 2 days ago. So this is precisely the aim of this topic on agroecology. So that's why we wanted the invited speakers to talk on their experience on agroecology and what they can add to this new project that will be at least we will lead the writing of a proposal with the African member states involved. So yeah, that's precisely the aim of this. But there will be, as I said, many other meetings, and this is just a brief overview of what would be the added value of every partner in a consortium that we will create for this project proposal development.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. That's why when I was hearing you the other day on the agroecology and Sudan, I said it will be very good that you are able to present something here.
Yes, of course. Yeah, and thanks for the invitation. Yeah, thanks.
No problem.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, maybe we need to start in order not to become late since the beginning. Yeah, normally we should be having 5 minutes of license for people to enter, but I think this tight agenda doesn't allow for more. So yes, I think we're gonna start. Well, thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. I see we have already 33 participants, but yeah, we are going to start. I think there will be more joining during the session. I am very happy that you are still here. I know it's been a very long week, a lot of sessions, parallel everywhere, and yeah, Friday 2 o'clock is not the most convenient time. Also for our colleagues in Sudan that should be already enjoying weekend, but we appreciate very much your presence here in the name of LifeWatch ERIC, which I'm representing now together with Jose Manuel Avila, who is the expert in agroecology there. We also have, I think, with us Antonio Jose Sainz, which is the expert in the ICT and all the virtual research there. And I think Elisa should be there or will join later, which is the program coordinator on international projects. So with no further delay, I just wanted to share with you the information which is already in the description of the session, sorry. It didn't change much from the one that was in the work program and now the one that was launched 2 days ago. Are you able to see something here or should I do it bigger?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what also will be uploaded in the web and some speakers have already seen. It is basically the description we had in the session, as I said. So the purpose of this meeting is to start collaboration on something concrete. We've been talking all these days in the summit on research and innovation, collaboration, but we wanted to put something on practical to start from this summit and to hopefully become a project proposal to be funded under the Horizon Europe program. So this is the information we have in the call now. The deadline for this project proposal is the 15th of February 2022, and it is on agroecological approaches in African agriculture systems. So the expected contribution is around 7 million euros, but well, this can be also flexible. In terms of timing for the project, we will have to discuss later, but it's between 3 and 4 years for the implementation. As you see, the indicative budget is 28 million, meaning that will be funding for 4 projects maximum. So it's quite a competitive situation. It's not easy, of course. It is a research and innovation action, and the new thing that was now added to the work program is that the consortium must include at least 8 independent legal entities established in Africa, so 8 entities minimum, and 5 of them must be in the same geographical region of Africa, meaning North Africa, South Africa. I think I had a map here somewhere. So we have to concentrate on one of the regions. I don't know where is this. But what we will see here. Okay, so you have, yes, North Africa, Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Mauritania, Morocco, Tunisia. West, we have Angola, Botswana, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa. Sorry, this is South. I'm just reading South. Angola, Botswana, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Swaziland, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. We have West Africa, Benin, Burkina Faso, Cabo Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Liberia, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Togo. For East Africa, we have Kenya, Comoros, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Madagascar, Mauritius, Rwanda, Seychelles, Somalia, South Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda, which is already the most represented in terms of our speakers and together with the South. And then Central, Burundi, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, and São Tomé and Príncipe. So we will be moving in principle between South and East in terms of what we have as a speaker, but of course this is not a closed thing, it's just a starting, so we shall discuss on which will be the priority region for the project. And then we have the diaspora, that is also 170 million people that will be, of course, mobilized also for this project. So if we go back to the description here, apart from these things that we need to have in account, 5 countries of the same sub-region in Africa and 8 minimum as legal entities in Africa. The expected outcome is to support the farm to forest strategy, promotion of global transition on sustainable food systems, and the challenges and economic growth for both regions, where you have here all the outcomes that they need to contribute to environmental challenges, biodiversity loss, agroecological practices, whatever. But if we go to the scope here, I think where we need to look in more detail, it is about the relationship between Africa and the UA, the COVID pandemic and the climate crisis, and how agroecological approaches will alleviate the pressure that agri-food production places on natural ecosystem, resilience of agri-food system, nature-based responsive to risks and threats. And then it talks already here about food governance with intervention at local. Okay, so this is also important for us to take into account. And here is a little bit more on what we need to do. Proposals should build on existing and develop new knowledge, data models. Okay, that's why we thought LifeWatch ERIC could lead this, because it's also on existing and models and using the data and indicators to one, identify and evaluate the most suitable agroecological strategies for various farming systems in different agroecological zones in Africa. So firstly, identify strategies, agroecological strategies in different farming systems. Then deliver a method to identify the best combination of agroecological practices for the farming systems, right? With barriers and drivers of socioeconomic and socio and ecological. That's why you will see in the list of the speakers, we also have people from that are dealing with this part, and also we need some input from social sciences. And it was implementation and the conditions, means, and tools to support agroecological transition at individual, territorial, and system level, including perspectives related to access to local and international markets. Okay, so this is also important, how to enhance the citizen demand for these products and how to do prospective on markets. Develop indicators to monitor and measure the qualitative and quantitative impacts of these strategies for different farming systems, climate quality potential and trade-off, nutrients flow, biodiversity, improvement of farm socioeconomic resilience. Jose Manuel will also discuss what is the role of LifeWatch here, but of course on the monitoring and indicators and things we can also contribute. And then we have also the relation with farmers. So for those of you who are in ministries and extension services, NGOs, support farmers, advisory service and actors in value chains in implementing agroecological practices by establishing communities to support capacity building, knowledge exchange, and share best practices across different human communities in relation to agroecological practices that contribute to mitigate climate change and other environmental impacts. So here we see this networking community of practices and support capacity building to farmers and all the people involved in the value chain. And then we need to also identify approaches and methods to enhance the demand for food products resulting from agroecological practices from local, national, regional, and international markets. So then this is also an important thing, the multi-actor approach, which is already mainstream in the whole description. We need the quadruple helix. We need, of course, the governmental and policy actors at the different level, international, national, but also local. We need, of course, the industry, which is related to the food and the value chain, farmers, citizens, civil society associations, and academia and researchers. Of course, that is the basic. So I will keep this here for you to have a look later. But as you see, it is about, first identification, what are the strategies, why they are successful, what is the combination that makes that a good combination of practices, what are the barriers, and how we monitor that this is a good practice, and how we support implementation with farmers and exchange of lessons, and finally how to show the citizens and the consumers that this is worthy to pay for. So with this, I will give the floor to Heather McCann from INRAE, which is already a partner of LifeWatch ERIC in some projects, to present what they are doing in this field.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I share my screen?
Yes, sure.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Okay, can you see the first slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you very much for the invitation. And today I'm going to give you a short introduction to the Already project, explain a little bit the context. So I'm Heather McCann. I work at INRAE in France, and I coordinate the European Joint Programming Initiative on Agriculture, Food Security, and Climate Change, also called FATCHA JPI. And in this context, I coordinate this coordination and support action called Already, which is to prepare a European partnership on agroecology, living labs, and research infrastructures. And so let me tell you a little bit about the context, and then I'll tell you a little bit about Already. And of course, I forgot to start my timer. Okay, so I think that we all recognize that we need to transform how we produce food and feed for the changing world. The environmental challenges and feeding a changing and increasingly populated world will require major transformations. And we know that sustainable and resilient agricultural production systems can help mitigate climate greenhouse gas emissions and to adapt, but they also are sources of greenhouse gas emissions. So we really need to rethink how we produce food. Of course, we think that Europe can play a major role in this transformation. So when we talk about agroecology, we are talking about really a profound change in reasoning, because it depends on using diversity, biodiversity, but it means also that there's diversity throughout the value chain. We need to employ adaptive management that considers the context and also alternates between real life and theory at all levels of the system. So it's really, we need place-based approaches that then we can see what can be generalized and what can't. So again, coming back to, this is relevant for your topic, because it also involves involving all the different actors in the chain in a co-creation process. And the approach that the European Commission has taken to promote this agroecology transition is to use research infrastructures and living labs to promote a knowledge-based innovation and transition. So I'll just say a quick word. Actually, I just realized I'm not in slide full screen mode. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, and so let me just say a couple words about living labs and research infrastructure. So living labs are open innovation arrangements that rely on co-creation, in real life circumstances with the users. And they promote 3 types of values, business, social, and knowledge. For the interest of time, I'm not going to go into all the characteristics. Research infrastructures are facilities that operate over a long term, that produce data and metadata and promote knowledge, innovation, and training and education, and intend to be research oriented. So the idea is to use living labs and research infrastructures to promote this agroecology transition by making a network across Europe. And this is the objective of the European Commission, and it's to create a large-scale partnership with the idea that this network of living labs and research infrastructures can accelerate the transition towards the sustainable climate and ecosystem-friendly farming practices through a better grasp of agroecological processes across different levels, and again, through a co-creation process. So the partnership, the European partnerships, it's a new way of working. The first ones will be starting this year. And in this case for ours, we have the timeline here. The actual start of the partnership will be in the beginning of 2024. So actually, we will actually be officially starting the partnership after this, your proposed project will be starting. But we're in the preparatory phase, and in the preparatory phase, we have the already CSA, which I'm going to describe to you in a second. There's a second CSA, which is called AE for EU, Agroecology for Europe. And there's also a working group of the Standing Committee of Agricultural Research, SCAR, which is helping to prepare this partnership. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Already. So Already is a coordination and support action. As I mentioned, it's not research per se, it's to prepare this partnership. It began in November of last year. It ends in 2023. We have a little over 2 million euros and 13 partners. And as mentioned, INRE is coordinating. So these are our different partners. And to go into a little bit more detail, we have, I see that some of the partners are in the audience today. We have academic partners. We have LifeWatch ERIC, an important partner. We have the European Network of Living Labs. So universities, academic. We also have Agriculture, Agri-Food Canada, who are real pioneers in living labs on agroecosystems. And we've also established links to a number of other European and international instances. Okay, so the overall aim of Already is, as I mentioned, to prepare this European partnership, which will be a network of living labs and research infrastructures. And in order to do that, we need to look at the following questions. What are the criteria, the agroecological criteria to characterize agroecological systems and monitor their transition? And what methodologies can be used to co-design and to co-create a new system? Who are the actors involved, in which types of activities and with which governance? How diverse are the transitions, and how can learning from one another across Europe help to upscale and outscale agroecology? And how can living labs and research infrastructures help in this transition? So the project has 6 overall aims. The first one is to collectively define the mission and the vision for the network, but this also involves clarifying the concepts, agroecology, what is a living lab, what is a research infrastructure, and how they'll all work in this particular context. And then using those foundations, we will identify, map, and evaluate the existing living labs and research infrastructures that exist, and where maybe there are gaps. We'll look at their level of maturity, look at success stories, but also the barriers, as in addition to the drivers for agroecological transition. Then beginning with a few, so each of the partners, maybe not each, but many of the partners in the consortium actually are involved in different living labs and research infrastructures. So we are going to put in place a small scale pilot to test the different principles that we'll be developing in the CSA, for example, capacity building and training, governance, funding models. This will allow us to drop an implementation plan for the network, and also to begin to contribute to the strategic research and innovation agenda for the network. We are building a capacity building program that we will pilot in the pilot network, and also a knowledge management system. So this is the virtual research environment that Jose Manuel will talk about in a few minutes. And then, of course, we'll have a communication program to share what we're doing. So this is the project in a nutshell. We have, like all projects, we have a bunch of work packages, but that are divided into sort of three phases: a foundations phase, which we're sort of in the middle of now, and then this experimenting the network framework. So that's the pilot and building up some ideas for governance, funding, and the research needs, and then the communication and dissemination. And sorry, that means that I have to stop now. So this is just an idea of what the network will look like. We start with a pilot, which is a nucleus for the larger network that will be built up over time. And the whole thing done in a co-creation process, engaging the different stakeholders. The website is up, but it's obviously in early stages because we started fairly recently, but we're also present on various social media, so you can look and read more about the project. And with that, I will thank you for your attention. Sorry, it was a bit fast, but please don't hesitate to either contact us or ask further questions.
Thank you, Heather. Perfect timing. This was Emmanuel. Don't let us in a bad position now. 8 minutes.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you. It was a really nice introduction. Let me share the screen. Okay, and well. I'm going to put the timer also. I need to say thank you. Thank you, Heather, for the presentation of already it's our context, no, to explain what we are doing there in the project. But briefly before, I should say thank you to the organizer of the African European Union Science and Innovation Summit for allowing us to organize this meeting. And but not also for that, I'm really grateful for the full event. Thanks to the organizer but also the speakers and the attendees, because they have provided during this whole week very useful and inspiring insights to many different challenges. And one of them it's agri-food. So thanks a lot. The conversation between Europe and Africa, it's amazing. Sometimes we want to collaborate, but the relationship is not, it's complex. No, if we work all together, sharing same problems, sharing our worries and how we see how to solve the problem, it's great. And we have really interesting conversation in this sense. Well, I'm Jose Manuel Avila. I'm from LifeWatch ERIC. I'm working on the agroecology side. We are LifeWatch ERIC is a distributed European research infrastructure consortium focused on biodiversity and ecosystem research, and we are presenting our contribution to these objectives, not the general objective to a transition to more sustainable agri-food systems. No, in this way, approaching with an agroecological perspective. No, so in this sense, we are leading this proposal preparation, as we commented before, and we are providing our vision about this. No, very briefly, because well, we know the problem, the real situation about all the externalities that the modern agricultural system has, not only for the environment, but also creating a lot of inequalities. It's true that they are providing a lot of foods, and it's very important, but we also need to build more sustainable food systems, and the agroecology perspective, or the agroecology as an approach, it's very key. You know, it's agroecology taking into account integral to the FAO's common vision for sustainable food and agriculture. Agroecology is a key part of the global response to this climate of instability. No? So it offers a unique approach to meeting significant increase in our food needs of the future while ensuring no one is left behind. Agroecology provides an integrated approach that simultaneously applies ecological and social concepts and principles to the design and management on food and agricultural systems. The idea is trying to bring the concept of the ecology, of the interaction between plants, animal, soil, and the human and the environment, no? While taking into consideration the social aspect that needs to be addressed for a sustainable and fair food system. No? The FAO approved these 10 elements of agroecology that put in the center biodiversity, but also the human, no? The people, the community, and it's very, very, very important. No? And the co-creation of knowledge, the culture and food of tradition, resilience, synergies among all these different elements. And we are defining, no, this transition toward agroecology based on these elements. I'm going to jump this. So the idea is to take into consideration traditional farming, the traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge, as it's called right now. No, that it's very important because they manage they manage the soil, the crops, the cattle in sustainable ways, providing some biodiversity and with a sustainable soil and water management. No, we are starting from asking the community what they know and trying to share these agroecological approaches, these agroecological farming practices to the entire community. No? We, LifeWatch ERIC, as I said before, an European research infrastructure consortium focused on biodiversity and ecosystem research. And our mission is to serve, to be here for the community, for researchers, for users, for farmers, for the citizens, trying to solve and to face the challenge that has the society and the environment in this context of global change, providing state-of-the-art ICT tools. We have, on one hand, Tesseract, that it's our tool for building understanding, for the identification, for provision of these tools that Juliana mentioned before, and that are the key aspects in this proposal preparation, based on previous knowledge, data, models, but also creating new knowledge and new understanding for agroecosystem research in this sense. And also we have LifeBlock, that it's our tool that uses blockchain technology for the valorization of the agroecosystem services from the socio-economic aspects and also from the environmental aspect, analyzing the impacts, negative and positive, of different agricultural practices. Very briefly, a virtual research environment, what we want to do is with a very user-friendly interface addressed to different type of users. We want to share knowledge. Okay, the idea is to share knowledge, to create new knowledge, to manage data in a fair, in a way that is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data practices to the entire community, and create models, simulation, and put this for the community to increase the understanding and the dissemination and the transfer of these agroecology practices. And this is what we are doing already. As Heather presented before, what we are trying to do is to provide a tool that links research infrastructure and living labs for the data management and the knowledge management and the creation of new knowledge based on simulation, on decision support systems, etc. No? To allowing to the final user to identify the source and link with the specific context, because the local information here, the contextual information here in agroecology is the key point. So the idea is to collect this information based on different sources of data, the contextual information that is very important, and the methodology to verify good practices, identify, trying to replicate in different areas, trying to improve or increase or help the researchers to understand what's happening, and also for assess the future in the context of global change, and also help decision-making process for policymakers, for also the users, no, the farmers. We understand well, and I'll talk later about the collaboration. We understand that the context is very different, but we are doing it already, and we are doing it also always trying to understand the needs and the specific information. Agroecology helped us a lot doing that, no, this methodology. To listen to the community, what they need, and adapt the solution to this context. Probably here I'm talking a lot about digital technologies, and we are a huge digital bridge, and it's a gap, a digital gap, and we need to face that, no? And we are thinking how to solve that, no? With some advisors or with some different approaches, no? That it should differ depend on the context, no? On what we are doing in Africa in one place or in other, no? Trying to engage with the community. We are working on agroecology at the European level in already, but also we are working on Latin America and Caribbean. We are set up an office there to help them to implement the bioeconomy strategy, and focus also on the agroecology practices, no? With the support of ICA and also with Costa Rica government. This is in Latin American and European level, but we are also working very close with other relevant partners. For example, in NIA in Spain, that it's a National Center for Agriculture and Food Research and Technology that provide us with a lot of data of their previous experience they have working in organic production for a lot of years. So we are creating and designing this virtual research environment, trying to identify the environmental impacts at different geographical scales, facilitating this agroecological transition. Or the other example is with the regional agency for agriculture, livestock, fishing, and rural development. And we are also working in Andalusia region, that it's one of the most important regions in terms of production of agriculture, and at the European level, no? So we work to contact with the policymakers, with the community of practices, to co-create and co-design this virtual research environment. I promise I'm finishing. I don't want to extend this more, but what I want to just to wrap up, to finalize with what we bring here, no, with what LifeWatch bring here, no. For on the one hand, we bring our experience in European project, in cooperation projects, and in the project coordination. So for that reason, we are coordinating this topic. We bring here all our knowledge about the state-of-the-art ICT technologies, tools for providing this virtual research environment, these analytical software and tools to facilitate the transition toward agroecology. And we also provide our experience in co-design and co-developmental technologies. And what we want to stress here is on communication. Communication is basic. We can have very clear objectives. If we cannot understand each other, it's very difficult that these kind of projects have success. No? So believe in us, we are starting from this communication. For that reason, we organize this meeting, and then we will start working together for trying to increase a sustainable agriculture, there also in Africa. I think I should stop.
You should. Thank you, José Manuel.
Thank you.
Now we have to give the floor to Professor Jan Low, which is Principal Scientist at the International Potato Center. So please, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much, Juliana and Jose, for inviting me here today. to share the work that the International Potato Center is doing. I'm going to be going in for a little more focus because that's the nature of the work I've been engaged with the biofortified sweet potato, which we feel can be a key contributor to sustainable agri-food systems in Africa. But I want to start out by saying from the beginning, there's no such thing as a magic bullet. What we see with the orange flesh sweet potato is an entry point that other crops can be built around. And it also is a story to understand because it's a story of how we took an underexploited, ignored crop because it was the poor crop of women in sub-Saharan Africa and tried to give it more profile and really utilize its full potential. I just want to start out by saying this is the International Potato Center's 50th anniversary. And I'm sure as many of you heard, the whole CGIAR system is undergoing a major reform now. And by the end of the year, we're really going to be working more together. And I should note that one of the second key research area is going to be resilient agri-food systems. So I think being a part of this consortium to look at agroecological practice, the timing couldn't be better in terms of where we are going as multiple international agriculture institutions. SIP is really committed. I just want to give an overview of the incredible work our gene bank does in Peru. We have the global mandate for maintaining for the world as a public good potato, sweet potato, and Andean roots and tubers. And you can see the large number of cultivated species and wild relatives that we maintain. And this is expensive because it requires tissue culture and outgrowing in the field. It costs us about $1 million a year to keep this system moving, but we're here to serve the world with this germplasm, and we provide it upon request to countries or institutions that request it. I'm going to be focusing on the sweet potato today, but as you're very interested in biodiversity, another really underutilized crop with potential in Africa that we have introduced to Africa, but haven't had many resources to work with it extensively, is a crop known as a hipa, or I should say yam bean, or some people know it as jicama. And what's neat about this crop, it's a nitrogen fixing root crop. Now, there's no other nitrogen fixing root crop that I know of. There are 3 different species under Pachyrhizis of the ahipa. So just keep that in the back of your mind. There is an incredible amount of underutilized roots and tuber species that the world should be taking more advantage of. But to go back, why do we say sweet potato is such a climate resilient crop? And I can't go into a lot of detail, but I note that 89% of its production is concentrated in the 5 farming systems where 66% of the sub-Saharan African population lives. There are not many crops like sweet potato, which can grow from sea level to 2,400 meters. And it's becoming increasingly important because of its high energy output per unit time per unit area. And I note it is more water use efficient than grain crops. We have been expanding into semi-arid areas when there is irrigation. It can tolerate high temperatures. And we really see that the pastoral peoples really appreciate its dual purpose nature as a food and as a feed for livestock. It can be intercropped and strip cropped quite effectively. So it's a nutritional powerhouse. We have focused in sub-Saharan Africa in particular on breeding for the orange flesh varieties because they're extremely rich in beta carotene. Just one small root meets the daily needs of a young child. But you can see there are many other micronutrients in any type of sweet potato, from magnesium to vitamin C, many B vitamins, E and K. That's in the roots. But people also many times overlook the amazing leaves. The leaves are an outstanding source of lutein, which also prevents macular degeneration and have a high number of micronutrients as well. And we always say, and this very fits into your circular food system approach, no part of the sweet potato plant needs to go to waste. It can be used, the vines, as planting material. You can eat the leaves. It's an animal feed in the dairy industry with goats, dairy goats or dairy cows. It's a rich protein source that can increase milk production 20%. And of course, the manure goes back into the cropping system. So really, it's one of those plants that deserves the attention it gets. We've been focusing a lot on breeding, and we've been doing a 25-year process of learning and by doing and dissemination, really emphasizing combining the orange flesh sweet potato with nutrition intervention programs, particularly targeting women and young children. But since 2010, we've really been tackling going to scale while continuing to work on the bottlenecks in the sweet potato program. And I think one of our major achievements has been breeding in Africa for Africa. Identifying, for example, those drought-tolerant local land races and crossing them to get the beta-carotene gene in there for the provitamin A, and meeting the consumer preferences of our different populations. We've done this through improved methods of conventional breeding, which enable us to produce varieties now in 4 years instead of 10 years. So during this past decade, 96 improved orange flesh sweet potato varieties have become available, and 6.9 million households reached through dissemination efforts with a myriad of partners in 15 sub-Saharan African countries. And that story of scaling has been documented in the article shown here. But one thing that's important, and we've learned, and is really to get a lot of improved practices adopted, particularly in terms of how people manage their crop and engage in more complicated and quality seed systems. A marketing component developing the value chain is important. The existence of a market for your fresh roots really drives smallholder farmers' willingness to invest more in better and good agricultural practice. And this is something we need to keep in mind with any crop as we move forward. Just working on agroecological practice needs to be combined with really improving demand for these nutritious foods that we will be, I presume, focusing on. And as we have a lot of experience in the demand creation arena, we've used orange as really a color to promote good and healthy foods. And we've invested a lot in developing a shelf-stable orange flesh sweet potato puree, which we really focused on partial wheat flour substitution, since wheat flour is primarily imported in most countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So in terms of crop management, it's a really underfunded yet critical area. This has been one of our more difficult areas to get funded, but we do have some promising findings from limited work to date, particularly on intercropping to improve soil moisture conservation, mulching, the spreading types of sweet potato can really help reduce weed pressure and lower soil erosion. Our rotation experiment with rice showed the real benefits of rotation in northern Uganda. We've developed and use a strip crop sweet potato, 2 rows of sweet potato, 1 row of maize system that gives higher land equivalent ratio outputs in Malawi. And we've done experiments in Mozambique with intercropping sweet potato with groundnuts, and the incorporation of the crop residues at harvest improves our zinc and iron intakes in the soil, and that translates into higher quantities of those essential micronutrients also in the sweet potato roots. So really learning how we can sustainably improve yields. We've got a tremendous yield gap that we can address. We can produce on marginal soils, but of course, if we can improve that soil quality, sweet potato will really respond. I just want to say to close that we really believe in capacity strengthening and have developed a lot of tools and training materials. We have the whole everything you ever wanted to know about sweet potato course, 13 modules published in 5 major languages. And we've incorporated those training programs into 5 national institutions to be able to implement this 10-day learning by doing course. everything is loaded on our sweet potato knowledge portal. So I've slightly gone over my time by a minute. I apologize, but I hope we can continue to explore the amazing diversity of sweet potato and use it as an entry point to help transform agri-food systems across a wide range of agroecologies in sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. And now I think, I know it's hard, but we need to keep the timing somehow. Now is the time for Dr. Ian Jones, the founder and CEO of InnoPharma Group. And of course, you have your 8 minutes counting from now. The floor is yours.
That's fine. I'm happy to speak for 5.5, and save you, Jan, in terms of balancing out the times. I really enjoyed your talk as well. I think it's really, really applied, and I guess that's where we are as well. We led a skills session as part of this week-long activity on Wednesday, and we tried to keep it very applied. And we had Prince Nikiwe from the Eastern Cape talking about very applied needs at a farmer level. And I think that's why we're here talking today. In terms of what I'm going to talk about briefly, I'll give an introduction to InnoPharma, what we do. We do more than just pharma, PHA or MA. And I'll talk a little bit about our skills session and try to help join the dots in terms of where we could potentially fit in. In terms of InnoPharma, we have a technology division and a skills division. On the technology side, we develop technology platforms, digital platforms with sensors, connecting sensors and machines to get that data to the cloud and then to do stuff with that, whether that's just remotely visualize that data and provide advice and guidance, or in a manufacturing context, how to bring more control using machine learning and artificial intelligence, how to bring more control to those processes. And I guess as agriculture in an African context matures and builds up, I think there will be an absolute transition towards more processing and up that value chain as well. So I think, and as we look in other geographies around the world, instead of broad agriculture, there will be a localization of agriculture in some domains, and then processing and manufacturing in other domains. So how does that transition happen over a 10-year period? I'm really interested to talk and understand further around that. So that's where our technologies fit in, is around that digital side. And in our skills side, we work with governments, we work with sectors, and we work with higher education institutes. We are a higher education institute ourselves. We work with others around the globe to develop that public-private partnership model to upskilling. And so that we try to bring a process and a structure, and then to have a sustainable approach. And like Jan, you spoke about the online learning portal from a potato perspective, that's very applied, and I love that. And it's similar for us within be it medicine manufacturing, med tech, or food manufacturing, whether you're making beans or peas, which we do support, or you're making medicines. The same skill sets, responsibilities are aligned in that manufacturing space. So that's where we reside. And skills are becoming more and more focused, and there's greater light being shone upon them by governments around the world, because they're seeing governments are seeing skills as being a way of tangibly and really impacting on their citizens, and improving their life quality. So that is really important, and the phrase has always been said. It is skills are a pathway to a better life, and that is true. But with that, one of the findings that came from our event on Wednesday was we had some great speakers from the farming villages and farming communities, as well as the head of Sub-Saharan Africa from Novartis. But one of the common challenges was connectivity. Mm-hmm. And if we want to connect and we want to have partnerships, connectivity is within that triangle. We can have the devices, and we can get devices, and we can provide skills. Can't do much without the connectivity as well. So that's really, really important. And we had one of the leaders from Huawei, talking about that in their projects within Kenya, Nigeria, and various other African states, which was really interesting to hear. And it was, I think he found it quite useful to really hear that message again and again. Connectivity is key. I also liked the idea of that connectivity and the digital aspects of what's possible now, which weren't possible 10 years ago, in terms of empowering those farmers through collaboration and also through their own independence to access data from around the world and to have help from around the world for their crops and advice on their crops, which may not have been possible in such a real-time manner 10 years ago. And with the sensors that Jose spoke about previously, plus that connectivity, that is now possible. And the final thing on that is, if you've got digital skills and devices and connectivity, you have products, as in you can develop apps, you can develop products that can actually help you commercialize around the world. So it actually is a way of advancing SMEs, small and medium enterprises, and sole traders, if they have those digital skills. Whether that's in an African farming context or it's broader programming, it has that potential. And I guess, so for me, they're the key points that I wanted to bring up. I'm really interested, and InnoFarm are very interested in contributing to any collaborations and consortia that may become out of these events this week. We see a role in terms of skills and our technologies and our supports that we can perhaps give through any consortia. So Xavier, I might pass back to you if that's okay. I would like to thank you for the opportunity for speaking. I have really enjoyed the speaker so far, and I look forward to hearing the rest of today's session.
Thank you, and you keep the timing really very well. Now we have the pleasure to invite to the floor to Dr. Jean Bosco Lamoris Okuyo, which is Associate Professor in the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences in the Makerere University in Uganda. So please, Professor, the floor is yours. Are you there? Professor Okuyo? You cannot see him. No, I don't think he's there. Let's pass to the next speaker and then see if he can join. There should be some connection problems also. So let me, introduce the next speaker, which is Professor Roberto Garcia Ruiz from the University of Jaén.
I think Roberto is here.
Yes,
Yeah, Roberto is here, but let's wait if Professor Okuyo comes later.
Later, perfect.
Let me share the screen. Let me see this one, I think. Okay, can you see the screen? Now it's in full PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so my name is Roberto Garcia Ruiz. I am full professor in ecology at the University of Jaén and Spain. I would like to thank the organizer to invite me to show or to share with you basically what we what we do. I mean, my research team regarding the contribution or to boost agroecology, which is in Africa agricultural system. Basically, I work on how to create and reinforce ecosystem services throughout a combination of local adapted management practices, agroecological management practices, and in this context, I work in several places in Africa. In the context of two projects, Prima H2020 project with the acronym of Sustain Olive, which I do coordinate, and also in the context of a cooperation project granted by the University of Jaén which now is in progress. Well, it's not in progress. Now it's in standby because of the coronavirus issue. Hopefully, during autumn, we will start to go to Burundi. Basically, I work on rural subsistence maize farm in Burundi, but also my research team work on olive cultivation, which you already know is a perennial crop that in many occasions, at least in Morocco and Tunisia, is a secondary activity, but that had an important role in setting up the communities in the territory. Regarding Burundi, basically my role here is to contribute to increased food sovereignty and security in vulnerable backward communities. So by using the terms co-design, real-life base, co-develop, connect, share, and demonstration, we try to increase productivity using local and recycled sources of organic matter and nutrient. This, together with local traditional seeds that and local practices and knowledge from the Goa community, we try to apply soundness and sustainable nature-based management practices, which are independent of insecticide, fertilizer, and so on. So an example of what we're doing is just using biochar, manure composted with human feces, incinerated sheep bones, bokashi. We are doing in a participatory way several experiments. It says, sorry, my connection is unstable. It says in my screen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So working with them, this is an example of the experimental setup we are doing there. And this is some picture, some photograph of the maize performance at the different units. And they help me to measure production, because it is quite important for us that they see the differences among the different treatments. And as an example, you can see here, this is an annual maize production with bokashi compost or biochar, any sources of organic matter which are locally available. We were able to increase quite significantly the annual production compared with the annual production the Batwa community usually has got, which is shown here and the control. Also, we are working with them by introducing rabbits and goats. Unfortunately, the success of introducing rabbits and goats is relatively low. Unfortunately, we do have some cultural problems we try to solve. We try to solve during next month. Regarding my work on Tunisia, Morocco, this work is under the context, as already mentioned to you, Prima H2020 project, which is called Sustainolive. This is a project of 22 partners. If you can see in your left of your screen, they are the partners. And basically, the idea of this project is to do a synopsis of the olive grove farming and take into account agroecological concepts and the stakeholder acknowledgement and taking into account the context specificity in terms of economical and technological advance in each of the places. We have identified a set of sustainable technical solution in olive cropping, which are context adapted. Once we have selected these farms, which have applied these sustainable technical solutions, we are just measuring many of the ecosystem services you can see on in your screen. Pest and disease, nutrient retention, nutrient function, fertility, soil erosion, carbon footprint, carbon sequestration, climate check resistance and assessment through our model. And so we also are doing some socioeconomic and life cycle assessment in this sustainable technological solution farm compared with a comparable farm but without the solution. But also the project also have got many tasks regarding what to do with the main olive meal by products, assaying several recovery technologies, such as using some of the byproducts as a nutrient medium for microalgae, or try to produce a green phosphorus as a struvita, etc. So in the context of, sorry a second, up. I don't know. Okay. Just only a second. Okay, sorry. So in the context of for Tunisia, Morocco, throughout co-design, co-develop, throughout the demonstration, we try to implement rotation, legumes and cereal for human and livestock. In low density olive growth, we also are introducing hens and sheep in some of the olive growth, but also we try to give a value to the bioproducts of the olive meal for agricultural purposes, such as the leaf of the olive tree for sheep.
You need to 1 minute, please.
And composted olive meal pomace to reuse nutrient and organic matter. And this is what basically I would like to show in order to you to get an idea of we are involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Sorry again, I don't like to be doing this change in time, but there is no other way. Thank you so much for your excellent intervention. And now I want to introduce you to Roland Brouwer, who is working still for the SIP, also for the International Potato Center, but also he has joined the an NGO called Foundation for Community Development in Mozambique. I met him some years ago while we were doing science policies in Cabo Verde and Mozambique. So please, Roland, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Juliana. I will put on my slides. I did not. A friend here in Mozambique once said, if in Mozambique, you always have to start with an apology. And that's what I'm going to do. First of all, you said already, I'm working basically for 2 organizations still. I'm leaving the International Potato Center. I'm joining a Mozambican NGO working on basically nutrition, health, I mean. And it means that I had very little time, and I was really trying to organize myself and could not make a beautiful, nice presentation. It means also that I'm here not as a representing organization or a company, but basically just as a personal interested individual in the topic. On the basis of the experience that I gathered since I left the university and started to work as a lecturer here in Mozambique at the university on ecology, worked on policy advice and on science and technology development and policy development, on innovation research, various consultancies, especially on natural resource management, where sustainability obviously is the key issue. Later, the International Potato Center, where I worked with orange red sweet potato, first in Mozambique and later in Ethiopia, first with a British funded project and later with an EU funded project. And now currently I'm trying to support data quality improvement and in organizational development at the FDC. The FDC, which has currently most of its effort concentrated on health, basically HIV and tuberculosis, malaria, which of course are key issues in the sub-Saharan societies. And I think Mozambique is one of the worst hit countries at the continent still, but also evolving into emergency management or response basically due to an increase of climate change related disasters like cyclones in 2018, 2019. And currently also, of course, we have a civil war on the northern part of the country, which is related to all kinds of issues, including the development of fossil fuels. And going back as well to the food and nutrition security as a strategy to move again from emergency towards development. So these are all kind of topics that are relevant, I think, for any consortium that tries to respond to the call by the European Union. I will be short, so I will not steal much time and recover probably some of the lost time. I think if we look at the perspective of the diversity, the call says something about future biodiversity challenges. I was surprised. I mean, is this challenges for the future? Biodiversity is being challenged the day since before yesterday and before. We have been talking about trying to save species and biodiversity for decades with degrading forests and wildlife. And we are still basically where we were also decades before. We should remember that conservation did not start from a conservation of biodiversity, but actually as on the one hand, preserve for the rich, when they in Mozambique created the hunting preserves, which they called cutadas, which later on evolved into conservation areas for preserving these animals instead of hunting them by the European royalty, and which are now the target of poaching, as you of course are aware, especially for rhino, like in Kruger Park and other areas in South Africa where still a lot of rhino is around, and where responses such as ecotourism and community-based natural resource management have been developed as ways to try to deflect or to create a flow of benefits towards the population, which might make it less interesting for them to enter into poaching. The similar case was for forest reserves, which were also created first and for all because the colonial government saw depleting timber reserves, and then they tried to create to close these areas to illegal logging. But those, of course, illegal logging is difficult to stop in a system which is characterized by rent-seeking and corruption. They have been moving towards forest concessions and also to community-based natural resource management as a strategy for preservation of biodiversity in a forest, but these strategies are not always easy. And obviously, related to agricultural development, urbanization, growing populations, and the demand for wood fuel, we have a lot of habitat loss, and which is also directly leading towards climate degradation. So if we talk about biodiversity, these are already old strategies we are looking at. There have been answers, and the answers have not always been very effective, and we still need to look for new answers. So it's not the future biodiversity, it's the old challenge looking for future better answers. In agriculture, the work which I did with the CIP was interesting in the sense, I mean, you have heard Jan Lowe explaining a lot about orange-faced sweet potato and the benefits and the potential of this as a crop. But I think the most important part of this work is the way in which it tries to connect research to change. And I think Jan has already highlighted very much the importance of breeding and the importance of having quality genome varieties that are responsive and fit within agroecologies with local food cultures, recognizing that all these contexts like culture and agroecologies are dynamics and can be influenced and changed, and sometimes change more rapidly than we expect, and even in a way that we have not expected. And also, it's important to remember also that all this research has to do with access to resources, land, water, labor, and seed, and that there is a difficult tendency there that we see a skewed distribution of access to these resources in playing out. I should add one resource, which is knowledge, obviously, which is very important. I would like to give an example because of sweet potato, because of course I'm still working on it. Until very recently here in Maputo, you would not find orange-faced sweet potato in a supermarket. You would only find sweet potato at places where poor people go shopping. That's the roadside market, the open markets and kind of the informal settings. Lastly, very surprisingly, I saw these crops in 2 upmarket supermarkets. And this is surprising to me because I had been negotiating with supermarkets about them adopting varieties our farmers were producing. And they said, well, we have looked at Mozambican farmers, but normally they are not capable to deliver the quantity we want, the quality we want, and at the moment that we need it. So we actually prefer to import from South Africa. Whereas the farmer said, yeah, no, we have been looking at these supermarkets and yeah, okay, they want to buy, but normally they only want to buy relatively low price and they never pay immediately, they only pay after a few weeks because they have such a bureaucracy. So for us, the supermarket is not really an outlet. And indeed, the roots that now are in the supermarket are not from Mozambique. They are from South Africa, and they are not the high dry matter varieties that we have been promoting in under SIP, but low dry matter varieties that are easily bred for other markets than the market which is the mass of the population here. Now, the other challenge, of course, is food and nutrition security. We can see, as I mentioned, now I'm working again with an NGO, we can see how the insecurity associated with climate change, geopolitical interest, the fossil fuel markets, and other things associated with social political insecurity leads to all kinds of people being forced to leave their homes and their livelihoods, and obviously undermining chances for sustainable development and sustainable farming, both at home and in the areas where they have to rush to. I've seen this in Mozambique, and I'm also seeing this in Ethiopia, where the areas we were working, where several times have been confronted with ethnic-based violence. The other thing is we can see, I mentioned a bit before, is we can see that actually that in Mozambique, in the 1990s, the NGOs that were working here, they came here because of the emergency after the Civil War, refugees, camps, and setting up emergency housing and so forth. And they moved then into the development market when the emergency was kind of resolved. And what we actually now see is that, like my own organization has now been asked to develop an emergency branch, because as the donor was saying, well, the emergency is not something that's going to go away. There will be new emergencies coming up. Climate change and political instability will be a new constant, a new normal. And also the new pandemics will also be a new normal. The intervention qualities.
Sorry, Roland, you need to finish. Yeah.
Okay, I'm first talking more than I expected. Okay, the quality of the intervention, I think are we really doing what we should be doing? Are we really what we should do in the terms of the quality we are delivering? Now, then I think I will just skip this, but I would say, yeah, if I would go for future challenges and to contributions that we, or perhaps I can help the organization to work for to contribute, then there are at least 4 topics where we can think about the innovation. We can look at small scale smart backyards, and we can also look at the integration of crops in complex agricultural systems. Okay, I think this is, then I will skip this, as Juliana already said, I have to finish, then I will leave it here. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. Obrigado. And now is the turn to Professor Ocullo. I think he's back now. So Professor Ocullo, which is, as I said before, Associate Professor in the Agricultural and Environmental Sciences College in the Makerere University in Uganda. Yes, you have 8 minutes. Professor, yes, you can start. I think you are mute. Now, yes. No, not yet. You have this small micro there on the left side at the bottom of the screen. Who is hosting the meeting? Can somebody unmute me? Jose Manuel, you are hosting?
Juliana, you're speaking with me or?
No, with Professor Okuyo from Makerere.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
The hosting is Jitka.
Jitka, can you unmute Professor Okuyo, please? John?
Can you repeat?
Can you unmute Professor John B.L. Okuyo, please?
I'll try. I don't think that I can do that. I can just request, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I think she can't.
Yeah, no? I don't think she could. No. You can only mute, not unmute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you see that there is a small microphone there. You need to press to start speaking.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. Now yes.
Cool. Now the floor is yours. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes, good afternoon. I will give a brief presentation on the strength and expertise of Makerere University in partnering for future biodiversity challenges and agroecology in Uganda. I am from the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences, Makerere University, and I would like to give a brief background on Makerere University. This is one of the oldest university in Africa. It was established in 1922, and through 1935, 1937, up to 1949, there was still a college. And in 1970, it became an independent national university of Republic of Uganda, offering both undergraduate and postgraduate courses, and it started awarding its own program. Currently, Makerere has about 35,000 undergraduate students and about 3,000 postgraduate students, both Ugandans and foreign. It is also very active in research. And in 2011, the university transitioned from faculty-based to colleges. And currently we have 10 constituent colleges and 1 school. So for detail, you can visit the website there. I'm going to focus more on the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. The College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences has 3 schools, 8 departments. It has over 2,922 students, of which 2,758 are undergraduates and 164 are graduate students. It has 15 undergraduate degree programs and 30 postgraduate degree programs, of which 17 are master's programs and 10 PhD and 3 postgraduate diplomas. It has a total staff of 380, 174 academic staff, which are highly involved in research in different aspects of agriculture and environment. The college also has research institutions. We have 3 major research institutions and specialized centers. And these specialized centers conduct research in different aspects, especially the key research areas are climate change and water resources, agricultural value chains, crop improvement, post-harvest management, nutrition, forestry and biodiversity management, sustainable production, waste management and pollution, equipment design and fabrication, hazard and disaster sciences, agroforestry and conservation agriculture, extension and rural innovation. It also hosts 3 journals, and right now it has over 150 running projects, which are more of collaborative research, both nationally and internationally. And in the last year, it had produced 210 publications. Now, these are the picture of some of the schools. You can see there, those are the various training we conduct on environment and agriculture. You just see the BSc Agriculture, Horticulture, Bachelor of Environmental Science, Bachelor of Tourism and Hospitality Management, Bachelor of Agricultural Extension and Education, Bachelor of Agriculture and Rural Innovation, Bachelor of Agribusiness, etc., and also Bachelor of Conservation Forestry. Now, some of these centers have specific roles they play. For example, we have Makerere University Center for Climate Research and Innovation, which as a center, it is a vehicle for improving and supporting undergraduate and graduate students in climate science education and also climate change and adaptation and mitigation. And therefore, the center focuses very much in contributing to the achievement of Sustainable Development 13 on climate action. It also has, it mainly focuses on sustainable development, and it also has a center for development solution network, which focus on agriculture and food security, improve nutrition and health, natural resource and ecosystem, renewable energy, sustainable cities, and gender equality. It's a cut cross theme on all this. And it uses a lot of digital technology to accelerate the achievement of SDG. This is one of the trainings where the centers delivered on community-based adaptation. And it has those partners. We also have Center for Regional, Makerere University Regional Center for Crop Improvement. And it really involved in a lot of crop improvement. And the center is an African Regional Center of Excellence, funded by World Bank and Government of Uganda, 2017 to 2022. And it is highly involved with PhD and MSc training in plant breeding and seed system. The center has partners like the World Bank, universities from USA, and regional university in Africa like Zambia and Juba and Rwanda. It also works together with National Agricultural Research Organization within the region, especially Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and other African countries. So the center is designed to support the training program and to cooperate with national and regional breeding efforts. So this helps a lot with the changing climate and loss of soil fertility. It plays a good role in breeding so that we can try to make farmers adapt. More detail can be seen at the website, which is macri.org. Now, we also have a national biodiversity data bank, and this was established way back in 1990 as a direct response to conservationist needs to have readily available data and information regarding the country biodiversity. So it has been very, very important in achieving its vision of being a leading center of excellence in quality biodiversity and environmental data collection, processing, and management. So the center has a lot of information on various aspects of biodiversity within Uganda and even within the region, because some of these cuts across. And the major partner has been Makerere University, USAID, Government of Uganda, and wild conservationists and researchers. We also have Uganda Forestry Resources and Institution Center, and mostly collecting information on forest inventory and socioeconomic data, mostly dealing with institutions and policy related to management of natural resources within the region. So it has a lot of connection with the farmers, policymakers, students, researchers, and training institutions. The major partner has been International Forest Resources and Institution IFRI research program, Indiana University in US, Makerere University, and Government of Uganda. We also have Center for Agricultural Education Center, CAEC.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Professor,
what-
sorry to interrupt you, but the time is finished. Can you just summarize? Yeah, the time is over. Can you just try to
Okay.
finalize? I'm sorry, we have to.
Okay,
conclude.
it's okay.
Mhm.
I have also included, I think people will read from the slide, the projects that are currently running in the colleges related to biodiversity and agro-ecosystem. And recently, is starting in 2005, Makerere University has also partnered with the International School on Organic Agriculture, and we have been conducting a lot of training on organic agriculture in the country. And all these are some of the pictures which we have been involved in, making sure that we are involving farmers in agroecology and also the students, so that when they go out as extension workers, they have some of this knowledge already with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. I'm sorry to rush you. I know Makerere University and the College of Agricultural Sciences is one of the top level at the level of publication as at Scopus and the whole African region. And I'm sorry you cannot explain all that, but we will have time in further meetings. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Now I need to give the floor to Mrs. Dr. Irene Cáceres, scientist and project coordinator at the Research Institute of Organic Agriculture. So please, Dr. Irene, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Juliana. So I'm going to talk a little bit about organic agriculture research in Africa, highlighting some of the work that FIBO does collaboratively with our partners in Africa and Europe. And I'm just part of the team that is working on organic agriculture in Africa. So for those who are not familiar with FIBO, we have 6 offices in Switzerland, Germany, Austria, headquarters in Europe, Belgium, then France, and also Central Eastern Europe. And the main objective of FIBO is to conduct cutting-edge science in sustainable agriculture, and also disseminating the information to practitioners, farmers, and policy makers. There are 6 technical departments, and I'll talk a little bit about what the international department does. And here, just to show some of the sites where the Department of International Cooperation has its work on, maybe focusing on Africa here in East and West Africa, but also Southern Africa. And we work with and through partnerships, as we do not have an office in Africa. And part of the work that we do in the tropics is based on the background that globally there's a 25% yield gap in organic performance compared to conventional. So we started these multi-locational trials in Bolivia, India, and also in Africa. And now I want to just show some of the key projects that we are doing in Africa. I'll talk a little bit about SISCOM project, Pro-Eco Africa project, Sustain Sahel, and also the Crops for HD. And here, the SISCOM project, this is a long-term farming systems experiment comparing organic and conventional. And I'm focusing on the Kenya component. And in Kenya, this project is being done in 2 sites since 2007 in Chuka and Thika. For those who know Kenya, this is where these are located, and these sites are contrasting in soils and also climatic conditions. And just to show some of the key results coming out of this research, this is the comparative yields between organic and conventional based on high input systems and low input systems. So here in green, you see the organic, both low input and high input, and the brown, these are the conventional low input and also high input. And if you look at the top graph for maize, you can see that the organic low and conventional low did not result in high yields, and this is after 12 years of research. But the organic high and conventional high had higher yields. But for potatoes, you can see that the yields were much lower under organic compared to conventional. And then looking at soil fertility over 12 years, the buildup in soil carbon, you can see that the organic low and organic low and organic high systems had higher soil carbon content or soil carbon stocks compared to the conventional. And this means they have a higher impact on the soil fertility. And looking at profitability, you can see that the low management systems even have negative gross margins, but the higher management systems have higher gross margins. The production costs for organic are mainly driven by labor, while those in the conventional are mostly driven by inputs. And I want to move on to another project. So the SysCom was focusing on on-station research. And here, ProEco Africa focused on on-farm research using established farms. And here we have more than 2,000 organic and conventional smallholder farmers in 3 countries. You'll see the countries later. And we used a cross-sectional approach using selected organic entry crops. But once we entered the farm, then we did a whole farm assessment regarding productivity, profitability, and sustainability of organic and conventional farming systems. And just to show where this project was implemented in Ghana and also in Kenya and then Uganda. And the data collection process was done by trained enumerators through our local partners. And the preliminary findings are that there are different motivations for practicing organic by farmers, and also that the comparative yields and profitability of organic was variable. And this depended actually on the site and also on the crop. And in some cases, the yields from organic were higher. In some cases, they were similar to conventional. In other cases, they were even lower than conventional. So in terms of sustainability, we use the SAFA guidelines. And here we use a smart farm tool, which is based on these SAFA guidelines that were developed by FAO. And in these sustainability assessments, we have a holistic approach looking at environmental integrity, social well-being, economic resilience, and good governance. And this tool has 21 themes from the 4 dimensions and also 58 sub-themes and various indicators. And this is how the process happens. There's a farm survey, and then the data are analyzed, and then an evaluation is done to come up with a spider diagram like you see here. And in terms of the results, if they are low, then it's insufficient. And when it gets to the green, then this is the best assessment. And here you see an example of how we used this smart farm tool to assess coffee systems in Uganda. I'll not talk about the actual results, but you can see that we have the social well-being, the good governance, environmental integrity, and economic resilience all in one graph. And yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about the Sustained Sahel. this is also another project which is looking at resilience, and it's in the Sahel region, and involves different institutions. And the countries are Mali, Burkina Faso, and Senegal. Here is just a schematic presentation of the work packages, looking at geostatistical and scenario modeling, all the way to soil quality, and also in shrub-based farming systems. And here it shows the interaction. We have the social sciences, disciplinary, the life sciences, and then the action that is put to practice, and also for the adoption to large scale. And all this is expected to result in higher resilience and intensification of the Sahel systems. I want to talk briefly about another project. This is called Crops for HD. And this one is focusing on orphan crops or neglected crops. And this is a 10-year project starting this year with different partners, and also focusing on 3 countries in Africa and India. And
you need to finish, sorry.
okay, focusing on legumes, vegetables, but we have a strategy of push and pull to promote these orphan crops. And there are many aims of these crops for HD. It's very ambitious. And yeah, if you are interested to know more, you can visit FIBO on this website. And also that's the contact. And we do this research with many partners, like I said, and these are some of the partners listed here. And how to link the work with Horizon Farm to Fork. I think this question will come later, so I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Now we have to give the floor to Dr. El-Tayeb Abdellatif, scientist of the National Center for Research in Sudan. Please, I think there are 2 speakers, but please, you need to do both together in 8 minutes. So, good luck. The floor is yours. Dr. El-Tayeb, are you ready?
Dr. Al-Tayyib?
Yes.
Dr. Al-Tayyib.
Yes. Now is the time for Sudanese speakers. I know there is it is also
Dr. Al-Tayyib.
Nile. Yes.
Okay, please.
So you need to do both of them in 8 minutes. Okay. So
Yes.
Thank you.
Dr. Saada, if you are ready, please, can you load your presentation and start? I don't know, for some reason, Dr. Taib is not listening.
Or he's mute, I'm not sure. But maybe, yes, Dr. Saada, if you can start. Now I see, yes.
Yes, yes, I'm fine. Yes.
Please,
Could you
go
please
on.
allow me to share the screen? Could you please allow me to show the screen, share the screen?
Yes, but I think Dr. Saada is doing the same. So
Okay.
maybe you should
Okay.
pass after her. Ladies first.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yes, okay.
Thank you.
Let us hug over. Ladies first. Okay.
So Dr. Sahara, you have the floor. the screen is, we can see correctly, so you can start your presentation when you are ready. I know this is stressing without this short time, but we need to try to finish more or less on time. We are already late. Go ahead, please.
Is it a problem with the microphone, probably? Because it seems she's talking, but we cannot hear her.
Sorry. Saada, we cannot hear you. Can you put the microphone on, please? We cannot hear you, Saada.
I think the micro is on. It was
Yeah, it's a problem with the microphone.
Maybe, yes, Dr. El Tayeb, I think you need to intervene just to show a little bit on the Sudanese side. And of course, don't worry, we will have many other patients.
Juliana, I'm ready. If that is not ready, I can start.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Could you please allow me to share my screen?
Dr. Saada, we need you to remove the sharing screen so that Dr. El Tayeb can join. Because we cannot hear you. I don't think we can do your presentation. If you just remove the screen sharing so that he can do it.
Or probably Jitka can do that.
I'm trying.
Okay.
Yes. Sada, can you hear me? Can you remove the screen sharing?
No.
Okay, now. So now, Dr. Tayeb, you can take the floor and share the screen. I totally understand. You know, I was 2 years in Ethiopia and I was in the ECA, so we had the better internet connection in the whole Ethiopia, and still this happened all the time. So I totally understand. Now everything seems to work now. So please, Dr. Tayeb, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Can you see my my screen now? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Juliana, for this chance to present for our proposed projects for sharing. I want to speak about the diversity for food security alleviation and micronutrients, malnutrition, and mitigation of climate change in Sudan, and why we have to work in this area in Sudan. Yeah, in Sudan, we have acute malnutrition in Sudan. More than 10 million people in Sudan, they need of assistance of humanitarian. This is before COVID-19. And after COVID-19, it became worse and worse. We are suffering from IBD, we are suffering from iron deficiency, on anemia, and also problems in provitamin A. For that, we have to improve our research in the area of micronutrients on biofortifications of crops. Also, in Sudan, the climate change has great impact in agriculture. The projected climate change in Sudan, we are expecting the warming will be +2 in coming decades. And also we have high precipitation and drought. For that, also we have to focus our research, agricultural research,
in climate change in addition to biofortification. Okay, for that, in National Center for Research in Sudan, we have ideas to develop projects to improve orphan crops for increased diversity in food and nutrition in Sudan. When we are speaking about orphan crops, that means it's crops that used indigenously or in certain place in Sudan. As you know, Sudan is a huge country. We have diversity in food, but it's used locally. On this cultivars, on these varieties, it's wild type. It's not improved. It's not improved in quality of matters of nutrients. But we need to develop these cultivars. For examples, we have okra. We have more than 400 accessions. We have Pampara groundnut, more than 120 accessions. Also, we have pear millets, which can provide our local community or our farmers in Sudan with zinc and also with iron. Also, we have a lot of beans in Sudan. All these accessions, it's raw. It's just land races. We have to develop these accessions. Okay, if we have project like this, we are expecting work buckets like selection and characterization of high nutritive orphan crops in matter of minerals, zinc, for example, zinc and iron, and also vitamins, provitamin A or B6 or B3, in addition to amino acids like lysine or histidine. Also, we have to improve these orphan crops in matter of nutrients uptake efficiency. That means these crops can uptake nutrients with low provision of nutrients, because some of these accessions, it's high demand of nitrogen or phosphorus. And also we have to develop the drought tolerance of these orphan crops, because we are suffering, as I said, from climate change. We are suffering from droughts in some areas in Sudan. To develop these valuable orphan crops, we need cutting-edge technologies, such as dark technologies, RNA sequencing or phenotyping, in addition to GCMS analysis, and also analysis the minerals contained in these cultivars using ICP-MS technologies. Developing these orphan crops, it will have a great impact in socio-economic in Sudan, because now the land the plants need high nutrients and it's low productivity, and also the nutrient uptake is slow. After such a kind of these projects, we are expecting to increase the uptake of the nutrients of these orphan crops, increasing the nutritional value of these crops, and this will reflect positively for the health of the community in Sudan. In addition, it will increase the income for these farmers, and that means easy access to health and education and other services. In Sudan, we have now existing collaborations with Ethiopia, regionally in Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Egypt. But also, we have European partners in Germany, Zalf Institute and UFZ, in addition to SRU University in the Swiss. And we are expecting to collaborate with them if we decide to go for this fund. This is just three suggestions for projects which we can work on it regionally or globally with our partners here. Project one, like climate friendly agriculture in Africa, sustainable production of crops under low nitrous oxide emissions. As we know, Africa now it's became one of the most contaminant of nitrous oxide emissions due to agricultural activities. For that, we have to develop projects in this area. And also, we have to develop projects in using of beneficial microbes for climate-friendly and sustainable production of crops in Africa. That means use microbes or biofertilizers to replace using of urea and other things. I went so fast for this presentation on it's due to shortest time, but I think the idea it's became clear for the all. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, Shukran Jazilan, Professor. It was very good in timing, and we had, as I say, a good overview of research needs and how we can operate. And then let me please one last effort to present you Francisco Sanz Garcia, which is the Foundation Executive the Executive Director of Civis Foundation. So again, 8 minutes, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Juliana, for inviting me to be in this session. I'm very happy to be here, and I know that we're running out of time, so I'm going to be very quick. So we are a Spanish foundation that we are doing citizen science. So maybe not all of you knows what citizen science is about. But in the beginning, I will say that we are a very small foundation, but our board of thruster are composed by the University of Zaragoza, CSIC CIEMAT, that are very big institution in Zaragoza, the local council of Zaragoza, the government of Aragon, and the Ministry of Science and Innovation from Spain. Okay, so citizen science, there are a lot of definitions, but only means that people, citizens can contribute to science is the shortest definition. So our idea is that everybody can contribute to science using their own resources and using their own knowledge. So we have here a lot of projects that we did over the time, but the only thing is that you need to have in mind that we run a lot of different projects, and in all of them, all that we want is that citizens can contribute to the scientific process, can participate in this project. So I mean, the next way to explain citizen science is by examples. In this case, we are trying to measure the air quality using strawberry plants. So 5,000 of strawberry plants were given to people, and then they come back their strawberry plants, and we analyze if they are metals in the leaves. So with a machine that you can see, we analyze the metal, and we can make this kind of maps. So this kind of maps is we can do that because 5,000 people in Spain take care of this plant. Another example is to see that there are very, very different fields that you can apply citizen science. Another example is cities at night, and these are images from the International Space Station. So, and this image is taken by astronauts. So we ask people to identify from which city is this image. So the idea is that there is light pollution, as you know. So the idea is to make a very big map in the world that can be used by, I mean, the people is the one that is identifying these cities. So we can use this map to create different scientific publication using this data. So you know that the different color of the light is changing the behavior. For example, it's changing the behavior of the animals that are around the city. So we are doing this kind of analysis. Another example is this is an educational project that is birds in the cloud. We call that. So we are people is taking care of these bird houses, and it has some sensor there. So these sensors are connected to the Internet of Things, and people, this is for children. Children understand what means Internet of Things, what means cloud. Children understand things about biodiversity. So this is a project for education. This is another experiment that we did with 2,000 students in Spain, in which we are trying to figure out if the group is more intelligent than the most intelligent of the group. So we make a very big experiment, and students can copy. This was an online exam, and students can copy between them. So we want to know if students can copy, then there is going to be a best solution to an exam. We are doing also volunteer computing, so people can share their computer in order to perform scientific calculation. We are running also projects in which we are asking people to provide information. For example, in this project is a H2020 project, is diagnosis. We are asking people, asking citizens to provide their feedback about odor contamination. And we are running also different, and in this map, people is sharing local regulation on odors. So in this, for example, in this project, there is a very big background on policy, and we want to use these contributions in order to improve policies on odor contamination in all the, mainly in Europe, but not only, because as you can see, people from all over the world has contributed to this project. So in the end, citizen science is people contributing to science, but the impact is not only science, but we have a lot of different impacts like social, educational, political impact. And in the top graph, you can see the number of papers that are using citizen science as a methodology, scientific papers that you can see that is growing a lot of over time. And in the bottom, you can see the different collaboration using citizen science between different countries. And you can see, for example, that the USA and the UK and Australia and Germany are the ones that are more, but are the more countries working on this, but not only, because you can see Sudan, Kenya, a lot of countries are using citizen science. So by the end, sorry for talking so fast. By the end, what can we do here? I mean, we can help sharing our methodology for citizen participation in projects. We are aware that we need to target different socio-cultural communities, different stakeholders, and as you can read in the proposal, a multi-actor approach. We can help in pilot definition and pilot development in doing different experiments. We can help designing training material. Also, we can help developing sensors that can use in pilot, like I saw in the birds on the cloud I saw previously, and also to remind that as we are part of the CSIC, CIEMAT, the Ministry of Spain, so we have a very big partners that we can include somehow in this proposal. So by the end, for us, I mean, I have my opinion on this, but for us, it's very important the last goal of SDG, that is the partnership. So we are focusing mainly on this one. So thank you very much, and sorry for the quick speech.
Thank you to you for summarizing so quickly all the enormous work you are doing, and also to see that there are other ways to involve citizens and to, as it was mentioned in the goal, to do methods and approaches to raise the demand for food products that are produced on agroecological systems, especially at the national and international level, and that we can learn a lot from this type of projects in changing the minds of consumers. So I don't know if there is any very quick question or if we shall conclude here. Is there any, because we are half an hour out of schedule, if somebody has a very burning question, we can take it. Otherwise, I will make some conclusion remarks. And of course, as I say, this is not the end of anything, it's the beginning of something, and we will be in touch in the recent future. If I may just
if you allow me, just I have quick comment, because Dr. Saada couldn't present her work. In fact, medicinal plants in Sudan, they are wild, they grow wildly, and her institute, the Institute of Medicinal and Aromatic Plants, they provide like a technological package on growing this plant. and they would like to train the farmers in order to grow this plant for business, and also they can benefit from that because they formulate the drugs based on the plant also at her institute. So this is the idea, is to train farmers on how to grow these plants because they already have done with that. Another thing that we are really interested in the living labs, yeah, and I think we'll communicate with Heather to see how we can build capacity first on that, and then we will do it because we have huge research station in the desert area. So maybe we can benefit from that, and also it will be good for the people because people living there, it is rural areas, they are very poor and they don't have accessibility to food and water. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. That's an important point. Thank you very much. So yes, just to say that it was a really broad session. We have seen the different roles and expertise of both national university centers of research in Africa, also the research institutions in Europe working in Africa, the different expertise that we have on the table. And I think we can build a very nice proposal with all of you. And yeah, we will be in contact with you. You have all our contact details. Please interact, and we will in the formal communication. So, thank you very much. Jose Manuel, something else to say?
Yeah. Thanks, Juliana. Just to summarize the next step, I think the idea is to have some time to report what we discussed today. We will keep in touch in the coming days because now we have an idea who is who and what they do, and what they can provide to the proposal. So the idea is to build a strong proposal all together, no? And also just regarding living labs, we are also part of this elaboration of the methodology of this co-creation process, Dr. Tina Hosman. So we are also happy to collaborate with you with that, and this is an issue that we want to tackle to address in this proposal, because I think it's very useful for the co-design and the co-development of the tools that we want to deliver here. That's all.
Good. So thank you, everybody, and have a nice evening and enjoy your weekend. You deserve them. Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you very much.
Bye.
Well, bye bye.
Bye bye to everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.